Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my channel. And as promised, this month, is National Disability Awareness Month. And I had promised a video talking more about disability awareness. And so I have created a PowerPoint for my school that I work for that we did for Disability Awareness Month to show to the students. I work with middle school students and got a lot of very good feedback on my video. And so I thought I could make a few changes here and there and share it with you. So the way I have organized this presentation is uh, as you can see here, I've got several links, kind of like a table of contents. We'll talk about what is a disability, kind of a legal term. Talk about some common disabilities. I'm not going to get too hung up on that because I feel like what you really want to know about is maybe the prevalence of disabilities, particularly in the United States. That's inside the numbers, and how disabilities affect youth, school age children, life challenges that people with disabilities face, uh, namely in education and in employment, but some other things. We will also discuss a couple of primary laws that are in place, that are ever evolving with the intent of making life more accessible, uh, which leads into inclusion and universal design, UDL. We'll talk a little bit about etiquette. I could talk all day about etiquette. Um, how we should treat people with respect, and that's regardless if people have disabilities. Uh, we'll talk about some different people that are more well known that have had success in their lives. As you can see here, I've got a list of them. Um, so, excuse the bell in the background. That's my school bell. So, yeah, that is, let's just go ahead and get started then. All right, so let's start with what's a disability. It seems like that would be an easy question to answer, but it's probably more involved than we realize. I'm trying to make this a little bigger so I can see it. There we go. So, according to the Americans with Disabilities Act, which we'll get into that in a little bit, uh, the ADA defines a person with a disability as a person who has a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activity. So I want to say at the front, as I talk about disabilities, we're going to see some numbers um, of just how many people have disabilities and this and that. But my disclaimer is always everyone's got something, uh, in terms of, something is not perfect. We were born not perfect. So if you thought you were perfect, well, I'm sorry to break it to you, but you're not. We've all got something, and of course, there are some of us who have uh, something wrong with us that is having a much greater impact on our lives. And so those are classified more into these categories of disabilities. So you can see there on the left some physical ones: multiple sclerosis, muscular dystrophy, cerebral palsy, spina bifida. That's mine. I have spina bifida. spinal cord injury, visual impairment, hearing loss. Those can all be considered disabilities by way of being physical. Of course, cerebral palsy is kind of a little bit of both. It's also kind of crosses over. So mental or cognitive impairments, I don't like saying mental. Mental sounds like, I don't know, it sounds more derogatory. Of course, we have autism at the top of the list. That's pretty well known these days. Down syndrome, dementia, dyslexia, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or ADHD, brain injury. And I want to also say that, these lists are not exhaustive. There's others that I haven't listed, so don't be putting in the comments, oh, you forgot about this one or that one, because I know I did. It's okay. Let's see if it lets me switch to a different slide and continue recording. Not sure what it's doing. I think it's only going to let me do one. Okay. So, starting with different disabilities I've highlighted. Dyslexia, that's a pretty common one. Dyslexia affects individuals throughout their lives, but of course it can get better or more manageable in different stages of a person's life. It's often thought of as a learning disability because dyslexia makes it difficult for a student to succeed without phonics-based reading instruction that is not available in a lot of public schools. And dyslexia is a term that refers to a lot of different symptoms, but it's mostly with language skills, with reading, and sometimes it's with written language, and also, just with speaking. Let's see if I can go to my next slide. Yes, I can. Intellectual disability. It's referring to specific limitations in cognitive function, in communication, social, self-care, many forms of intellectual disability which can impact individuals in many, many different ways. Oh. Let's see, I think I skipped the slides. Let me go back. Of course not. I don't know. I may have skipped one. So anxiety and panic disorders is another area of disability that's very common. And a lot of people with these kinds of problems, of course, they experience a lot of anxiety and worry about things that are going on in their life, like their health, work, social interactions, routines, and this fear and anxiety really can get in the way and cause other problems. They often feel restless, wound up, difficulty concentrating, difficulty controlling feelings of worry. It's often misunderstood that people think that people with anxiety can just change their thinking, or that they can control feelings and of different, just be happy, right? Well, no, it's not quite that simple. And people with panic disorder, they can have recurrent unexpected panic attacks. And panic attacks they're sudden periods of intense fear that come on quickly and reach their peak within minutes. And they really can happen anytime, unexpectedly, and a lot of times they're brought on by a trigger, such as a feared object or a situation, and they often just worry about when that next panic might happen. Pretty serious, pretty scary for people. And so I think it's just important to recognize that. So ADHD, or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, is another common disability. It's very prevalent today, especially amongst young people, but even in adults. I found a video on the web that is made. It's kind of an animated thing, and it explains what it's like really just living with ADHD. So we're going to go ahead and view that because I think it'll do a much better job of explaining than I can.
Hi, we all have ADHD, and we're going to tell you a bit about it. ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder.
Did you know that anyone can have ADHD, even adults? About 1 in 20 children have ADHD, which is more than 1 in every class. Someone in your family may even have it too.
If you have ADHD, you might feel like you have a lot more energy than others, find it hard to pay attention, get distracted easily, find it hard to sit still, or not shout out or interrupt others.
Lots of people feel like this sometimes, but for someone with ADHD, it might feel like this most or all of the time. This can't get in the way of doing important things, like in school with homework and friendships. This can sometimes get them into trouble more than others.
Not everyone with ADHD has the same difficulties. ADHD can appear in different ways at different times for different people. That's why sometimes it's hard to tell who has it.
Some people may also have difficulties with reading, spelling, or being clumsy. Some may have difficulties communicating with people or have bigger emotions than others, like feeling more worried, sad, or angry.
Scientists have found that the brains of people with ADHD can work in a special way, including parts of the brain that help with things like attention, stopping and waiting before doing things, and organising thoughts or actions.
For me, ADHD feels like you are watching TV, listening to music, and talking to someone all at the same time. It's really hard to know what to pay attention to.
A special doctor can tell if you have ADHD. They will speak to you, your family, and your teachers to find out more about you and think very carefully before deciding if somebody has ADHD or not. They will also talk about the type of help you might need.
Knowing that you have ADHD can help you and others understand you better. You might need help with things that you find hard, and that's okay. It's important to find out what these are and talk to your family, teacher, or doctor about it.
There are some things that you might be able to do to help yourself with support of your family and teachers. For example, taking breaks or having a chart of what you need to do can help some people. Eating well, trying to get a good night's sleep, and getting regular exercise is important too.
Some children with ADHD need medicine to help with their difficulties, and some do not. Not everything works for everyone, and nothing works all the time, so it's best to find things that suit you and that you enjoy too.
Scientists don't know what exactly causes ADHD yet, but they know that it's complicated, with lots of different things acting together, including genes, which are instruction manuals in our bodies that help make us who we are, and the environment, which are the different things that happen to us in our lives.
Although it can be hard sometimes, there are some good things about ADHD. It doesn't stop people from achieving their dreams and being successful. Lots of famous people, like some athletes and actors, have ADHD too. In fact,
ADHD helps me have amazing ideas.
I'm one of the funniest kids in school. I have lots more energy than others.
I have fun in everything I do.
I can think of more questions to ask teachers than any other person in my class.
ADHD is just one part of who you are, and it's okay to have ADHD.
Find out more about ADHD by going to ncmh.info/ADHD.
Along with behaviors sometimes that he, she, they will feel the urge to repeat over and over again. And we think of obsessions as part of obsessive compulsive. Well, obsessions are where thoughts are repeated. Mental images will reoccur, and they're very strong, so they cause anxiety or fears. Some examples might be fear of germs or contamination, aggressive thoughts towards others or themselves. And then there's the compulsion or compulsive part of OCD. And these are repetitive behaviors that someone with OCD feels the urge to do in response to an obsessive thought. So this might include obsessive cleaning and or hand washing, ordering and arranging things in a precise way, repeatedly checking on things such as if a door is locked or if the oven is on or off, compulsive counting. Those are all different examples of that. So that I hope is useful information, that some basic information about some various disabilities that are common. I know that, again, this is not a totally inclusive list. There's plenty of other disabilities. You don't need to write in the comments that I forgot this one or that one, because I know. But hopefully I've highlighted some more common ones and provided some information that is new to some. And look for the other videos that I have included that's really talking about what it's like to live with a disability, the challenges people face, particularly in education and employment and in school with youth, what they deal with. And there's one on some etiquette on how to treat people with respect